this has been the biggest game changer in my life for taking full responsibility for what is mine, but also understanding that our external world is literally a mirror for our internal world. And all of these things and people and experiences and situations that we are projecting and blaming and shaming other people for is a piece of ourselves that we haven't integrated, accepted, that we don't love, that we're rejecting, that we're fearing. Hello, my love. Welcome to the very first episode of Activate Your Divine Power podcast. I cannot tell you how long I've been waiting for this moment. I think somewhere between 3 to 4 years. I can't remember when I got the first download. I know I wasn't in this business. I was in my previous business with my Divine Life partner, which was a fashion brand. And all of a sudden I got the download, I need to start a podcast. And it didn't make any sense. But what was really coming through at the time was I was going through this shift. I'd had my spiritual awakening, but I was very much at the beginning of that journey. And I got the call that I was going to have a podcast one day. And then it never felt like the divine time, ever, until right now, in this moment of the here and present infinite now. So I am deeply emotional, deeply honored, deeply grateful, deeply excited to be here with you today. And when I was thinking about what my first episode should be, I've got so much content that I have saved up over the last few years. And then I realized that actually there is one thing that I think is so foundational to my work. It's so foundational to humanity and to our collective healing and our individual healing that I think whenever anyone says to me, what's the one piece of advice you would give? It would be this. So there is no other episode that I can start with than this. And of course, over time, I want to share my journey of, how I've come to this place. I want to share all that other content, but I wanted to dive in first with this because I feel like it is the most foundational perspective shift, essentially, that I have gone on this journey over the last 4 years since my spiritual awakening. And I just believe that if we all did this, the world would be a completely better, high vibrational, beautiful place. So without further ado, this is my biggest piece of self-awareness advice. Whenever you are in your mind, your ego is going crazy, you've just had a conversation with someone, you've just had an experience that's been building up over time, you're going over things in your mind, and you hear the words in your head, he, she, or they is XYZing me. So that could be he, she, or they is judging me. He, she, or they is shaming me. He, she, or they is guilt tripping me. He, she, or they is angering me, making me angry. He, she, or they is rejecting me. He, she, or they is resenting me. Now I could go on. The list of these negative emotions are huge. I'm sure you're aware. But what I invite you to do in that moment is to catch yourself. Now, this takes freaking radical responsibility. It takes time to master because it's so easy to get caught up in that ego's voice, and you can find yourself going over scenarios and, reliving moments. Oh, I wish I said this. Oh, da, 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 da. But I invite you to catch yourself in that moment and swap the words he, she, or they for I. So what I mean is, I judge me. I shame me. I guilt trip me. I anger me, myself. I reject me. I resent me. I can assure you that this has been the biggest game changer in my life for taking full responsibility for what is mine, but also understanding that our external world is literally a mirror for our internal world. And all of these things and people and experiences and situations that we are projecting and blaming and shaming other people for is a piece of ourselves that we haven't integrated, accepted, that we don't love, that we're rejecting, that we're fearing. So I invite you in that moment to swap that word out, because when you do that, you take back your divine power, because you can't change what anyone else is doing. And ultimately, what they're doing is a manifestation of your internal projections and their internal projections. Now, this can be completely divinely orchestrated because you're here to learn from each other. It's not a case of you've got to ditch the relationship, but it's a case of it is there, it is happening in your life to show you what you haven't healed and integrated and accepted inside of you. So that is part one. Another part is whenever you're using the phrase, he, she, or they doesn't XYZ me. So what I mean is, he, she, or they doesn't validate me. He, she, or they doesn't love me. He, she, or they doesn't accept me. He, she, or they doesn't trust me. He, she, or they doesn't forgive me. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? So what I invite you to do in that moment is to catch yourself, stop, and swap the words he, she, or they with I. So in this situation, it would be, I don't validate myself or me. I don't love myself. I don't accept myself. I don't trust myself. I don't forgive myself. And the list is endless of all of these things. So this has been so huge for me healing relationships, but also for being able to really get to the root of some of my deepest subconscious limiting beliefs. And I have many ways to do this, which I'll be sharing over time in divine time. But the first step always, always, always is self-awareness. And I just invite you to catch yourself. And this is an art in itself. It does take time, but it is so, so important, because what happens is when you stop blaming and shaming and guilt tripping and all the other things, rejecting, resenting other people, and you take full radical responsibility, you are leading by example. You are showing others and giving them permission and showing them that it's possible to own your shit and to heal from the inside out. How I do this in my relationship. So I've been with my partner for 10 years. We have been on such a journey together. I'll share that in another episode. But, this is something that I feel like since my spiritual awakening 4 years ago, I've really been playing with this. And it's taken its time for sure. But what I found is when I do find that I'm running anything like that through my head and anything that's kind of bothering me on the inside, he's probably the first person that I project it onto. So I think it has saved our relationship, because most of the time it's got nothing to do with him at all, nothing. So whenever I find my mind spiraling out and I'll project that, I'll catch myself and I'll dig down into what the deepest subconscious limiting belief is. Bearing in mind that I have personally identified, healed, reprogrammed from 3D to 5D over 3,000, maybe nearly 3,500 subconscious limiting beliefs, programs, feelings, and misunderstandings, which is the basis of my work. So I know what I'm doing and I know how to really dig down into that deepest one. But what I do is when I discover what that is, the first thing I do is I heal it. So I heal that, and then the next thing I do is I inform him of what I've healed. I say, FYI, this was how I was feeling. I tuned in and realised that it was a complete projection. I've healed it. But then at the same time, there is always some kind of dynamic showing up for that to be triggered in the first place. So there is always room for improvement in a relationship. So I will always inform him, because it's showing him that I'm taking full responsibility. I'm not passing any blame onto him whatsoever. And I'm leading by example. And what happens 100% of the time, because he's the most incredible human being, and that's why I've chosen to spend my life with him, is he'll say, thank you for telling me. Let's have a chat about it. How can we tweak the dynamics in our relationship so that we're always improving? And I mean, how incredible is that? So he's like, how can I support you to meet your needs? And together we can create new patterns and new modes of behavior, because he understands that us investing in our relationship together is an investment in our future. And we're here to evolve together and heal anything that is keeping us in any codependency, moving it to interdependency. But there were definitely many years where I was completely projecting everything onto him. And I'm a 5/1 manifestor in human design. My energy is pretty freaking big, so I don't think that was enjoyable. So me taking back that it's my responsibility, and if he is doing anything that is triggering that directly, it's because it's a gift, is what I'm saying. It is a gift. When you really understand that the words you say to yourself, the words your ego says to you, they are a gift, because that is your subconscious programming. It really is. So when you can tune into those words and when you can find a way to heal it that works for you, it just changes everything. And this is what I'm so passionate about, is that if we all individually heal our own shadows and transmute those to light, then think about what that world is going to look like collectively. We are all individually creating our own worlds. We are creating 8 billion worlds within one world that is literally an amalgamation of 8 billion worlds. So if enough of us can take this radical responsibility and stop looking outside of ourselves for validation, as much as stop looking outside of ourselves for other people to take responsibility for our own stuff that hasn't been healed inside, think about what that world would be like. And I personally am here to create my own soul's desires, to create a life and business that lights my soul up. That is what I came here to do. And part of that is this podcast. I know that. I have the left angle cross of informing in human design. I know I'm here to share my voice. And just side note, my favorite song has always been You're the Voice, John Farnham. Always been, always will be, before I even knew what I was here to do. And you just can't make that stuff up. So I am here to use my voice to help you activate your divine power. You are the only person that's capable of doing that. But I am here to help you do that, to help you see your shadows, to help you activate your own unique divine energy, which is unique within the entirety of the universe, the cosmos, all that is. And then to turn that into your divine power to create whatever world you decide is exactly what lights your soul up, what you came here to do. And then together we raise collective consciousness and we can birth this new 5D world of unconditional love, of unity consciousness, of freedom, of abundance, of peace, of joy and harmony for all. And that's what I came here to do. So I think my final thing I just want to say is, let's eradicate fear, blame and judgment. And just remember who the fuck we are. We are sparks of divine source. We are literally all that is. And when we just remember and own and celebrate and accept and love and appreciate and shine our divine light bright in all our uniqueness, we give others permission, show others that it's possible, and show others that they are safe to do the same, because our unique divine lights are meant to come together as a giant jigsaw puzzle to create this new world. So, my love, just remember who you are. You are incredible. You inspire me every single day. And I think that's a wrap for my first episode of Activate Your Divine Power podcast. Thank you so much from the bottom of my guilty soul, my guilty gold soul, for being here as we navigate these highs and lows together on this earthly plane. I couldn't be more grateful to be here. It's really deeply emotional to start this podcast. And I just invite you to take whatever has resonated today and to see how you can implement that in your life. And obviously, if nothing has resonated, that's okay too. You are here to tune into your discernment, to take what feels right for you and to leave the rest. So my love, until next time, I love you so, so, so much. We've got this, and together we heal and rise.